AJB Live will begin momentarily. AJB Live will begin momentarily. Breaking news from the Stream Center. Here's JB Buno.
Shocking news in the world of sports and entertainment, and news that hits close to home for us here in the state of Florida. According to multiple reports, wrestling legend Hulk Hogan passing away at the age of 71 in his Clearwater home. This now according to the Clearwater Police Department. Good to have you with us here, folks. Sad news here today for us here in the Tampa Bay area. JB here with you across now all streaming platforms, including on the WFLA app, on your smart TV, YouTube Live, Facebook Live as well. Let's go around here, show everybody who's joining us here on this live stream. Stream producers Garrett Phillips and Rhett Phil Jr. Across the top of your screen. And then joining us from Jacksonville, where we're going to start here, Scott Johnson, host of the Going Ringside podcast. Scott, you recently had Hulk Hogan on your show. Can you just, let's just start here. In your words, Hulk Hogan in the world of wrestling, the world of sports entertainment, how do you sum up a life that has resonated with so many people across the world, around the world?
This is an absolute shock. Not only is Hulk Hogan arguably the most famous wrestler to ever live, he is arguably one of the most recognizable people on the planet Earth. I mean, if you go to any country, any continent, they know Hulk Hogan. With his signature handlebar mustache and, you know, that long blonde hair that he has been known for since really the 1970s, Hulk Hogan is as recognizable as it gets. I want to tell you a quick story. I was at that, you're showing the Republican National Convention right now. I was at it, covering it in my other job as a journalist. When Hulk Hogan kind of surprised everyone that final night and came out to do that speech, I was outside with the police officers doing security. Every police officer who had ignored every single speaker ran to a monitor to watch Hulk Hogan speak. His iconic influence on society cannot be understated. He is the reason pro wrestling is what it is today, a multi-billion-dollar juggernaut that is seen by tens of millions of fans every week. It is on the back of what Hulk Hogan did in the 1980s. He was a household name. He was a superhero to children in the 1980s. And it is just a shock to the wrestling world to see him go. I spoke with Hulk. I had him on my show this spring, and Hulk was in good spirits. He had become political, as you can see right there in the last year. He's on Fox News a lot, spoke at the convention, a big supporter of President Trump. And so his passing is a monumental moment, really, because he did so much for the industry that made him famous. And Hulk was certainly a fixture in Tampa, doing his karaoke, I think, every Monday night with his buddy, his running buddy, Jimmy Mouth of the South Heart, at his karaoke bar that he had there. But he was mysteriously missing for the last several weeks. I've been covering this a lot on my Going Ringside channels, that a lot of people are speculating what was going on with Hulk Hogan. Why had he dropped out of the public eye? Where was he? A radio personality, I think he's in Tampa with you guys, Bubba the Love Sponge, had been doing a lot of things on air, speculating Hulk wasn't in good shape. A few weeks ago, TMZ debunked it because of statements from Hulk's camp that he was at death's door, that he wasn't okay. But Hulk's wife, Sky, his friend Jimmy Hart, and a few other wrestlers said Hulk was fine. He was going to pull through. He was recovering from a spinal fusion surgery at his house, and it was just, a long, slow recovery, as you can imagine, for a man in his 70s. And then this to come out today, just a shock to anyone who knew him in the 80s, anyone who knew him today.
And we're still, of course, picking up a lot of this breaking news story, folks, from a lot of local agencies here in the area. So we're going to pass along here on stream what we know right now on WFLA.com, and I'll bring up our entire team. Garrett, Red, if anything pops through here that we see, because I know that we're all paying very close attention to this right now on the internet. But here's what we have on WFLA.com that look, let's also pass along, his actual name, Terry Bollea, passing away, suffering cardiac arrest just before 10 o'clock this morning, taken to Morton Plant Hospital where he was pronounced dead. More details are coming in, and they will be posted on our website, WFLA.com. We should also point out a 1:30 press conference has been called, and that's a press conference that we're going to carry right here on stream. Scott was just talking about it. What Hulk meant to the Tampa Bay area is absolutely enormous. I got to know Hulk Hogan very, very briefly at a fundraiser for Clearwater for Youth last year in Pinellas County. I was able to meet him there for the first time. And yes, Scott, I think you pointed it out. While he was politically active, and you had seen him on the campaign trail for now President Donald Trump, as of course he was campaigning to retake the White House, Hulk Hogan very philanthropic with his time and doing a lot of good in the Tampa Bay area and around Florida, trying to really help out causes that he and his family really believed in. I'm going to give Garrett and Rhett an opportunity to hop in here. And guys, I know that Hulk Hogan, I mean, the news now, it's reverberating around Tampa Bay, it's reverberating around Florida, and this is an international icon. So while he means so much here in Tampa Bay, I mean, this news is going to spread far and wide really quickly.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see a lot of people who have had interactions, who have had their lives touched by Hulk Hogan, both in and out of the wrestling community, including like Ric Flair, who is obviously a wrestling icon in himself, also a Tampa native, I believe. He posted on X shortly ago, "I am absolutely shocked to hear about the passing of my close friend Hulk Hogan. Hulk has been by my side since we started in the wrestling business, an incredible athlete, talent, friend, and father. Our friendship has meant the world to me. He was always there for me. Even when I didn't ask for him to be, he was one of the first to visit me when I was at the hospital with a 2% chance of living, and he prayed by my bedside. Hulk also lent me money when Reed was sick. Hulkster, no one will ever compare to you. Rest in peace, my friend."
Yeah, so I'm going to also point out here, and Red, if you could pay attention to on social media, I want to find any of the responses, the reactions that are coming in. So if you see any, I don't know if you've seen any yet.
WWE has issued a brief statement, but it kind of speaks to a lot of what Scott had said. Hogan being one of their transcendent guys on the roster throughout the 70s and 80s. It says here, WWE is saddened to learn WWE Hall of Famer Hulk Hogan has passed away. One of pop culture's most recognizable figures, Hogan helped WWE achieve global recognition in the 80s. WWE extends its condolences to Hogan's family, friends, and fans. And yeah, Hulk Hogan is one of those personalities who, again, I think transcended the medium of pro wrestling, because you didn't have to watch the product to see Hulk Hogan and really know the business that he was in. There's a lot of people on this planet who are not wrestling fans who know exactly who Hulk Hogan was. And that image and really the way that he helped the industry throughout the years that he was most active, there's just not very many people in the industry who have had that effect.
So this is an interactive live stream. Scott, I want to get back to you here in just a second, but this is an interactive live stream for our audience. If you're watching on YouTube Live, on Facebook Live right now, I'm going to pay attention here in the comment section. If you would like to have your comment on screen, you want to say something in remembrance of Hulk Hogan, if you want to ask any of the four of us a question, you can do so in the Facebook Live or YouTube Live comment section. Just use hashtag HeyJB. That gets my attention here in the Stream Center, and then we can, of course, populate your comment on screen. Scott, what do you think was the moment where Hulk Hogan, or if there was a moment really where he transcended pop culture and became really this massive phenomenon? Because the wrestling superstar as we know it today is in large part and thanks to Hulk Hogan rising to superstardom. But as far as breaking through, how was he able to do that, and when did he actually do that? 70s, 80s?
No, I can definitively tell you it was two moments. First, it was Rocky 3, where Rocky, Sylvester Stallone, fought Mr. T, and Hulk Hogan played the character of Thunderlips. He hadn't even joined the World Wrestling Federation at that point. He was a lesser known wrestler, but he played a character in that huge movie. That brought him to the WWF, that notoriety. And then the thing that put him over the top by far, what was called the Rock and Wrestling Connection with two people, Mr. T and Cyndi Lauper. It was the first time pro wrestling had come out of the shadows, out of the back rooms, carnivals, smoke-filled halls, into larger than life
I'm going to forward you
entertainment. And so Hulk, alongside Mr. T and Cyndi Lauper, did the simulcast on MTV with WWF and MTV, which was massive in the mid-1980s. The biggest pop culture thing was MTV. When Hulk Hogan did that, and then he went on the A-Team with Mr. T, those single things made more of a difference to pro wrestling than anything you see on television today or in the last 30 years. Hulk Hogan and Mr. T in the mid-1980s made pro wrestling a mainstream entertainment juggernaut. It was all because of that man, Terry Bollea.
So as we look here at some of the iconic shots from Hulk Hogan, Terry Bollea's career, both inside the ring and outside of the ring, you're also going to see comments that are now starting to come in. Again, as I promised, if you use hashtag HeyJB in the comment section on Facebook Live or YouTube Live, we'll start to cycle through some of the comments. Maybe there are some folks here who remember meeting Hulk Hogan or remember seeing Hulk Hogan perform with WCW or WWE or WWF. I always, Scott, forgive me, all the acronyms for all the wrestling, organizations over the years. And, and I will tell you, I am not a wrestling super fan, but I do remember when Hulk Hogan was with NWO, another acronym, of course. So, what would you imagine, Scott, and we're going to start to cycle through some of the comments here. What would you imagine the response is going to be here in Florida and amongst wrestling fans? Because while, of course, Hulk Hogan is remembered for being this larger-than-life persona, he's also had a bit of controversy over the course of his life. We're seeing that represented in our comment section right now. Some people highlighting some of the things that occurred outside of the ring over the course of his life. A lightning rod for sure was Hulk Hogan, and that was in Florida here as well.
So if you see someone who's not a wrestling fan, everyone will say, that's Hulk Hogan, that's the wrestler, that's the guy, everyone knows. And they don't really have an opinion. If you get into the nitty-gritty of the wrestling fans who spend all their time on the internet, they have a different opinion of Hulk Hogan because of those controversies you mentioned. I don't want to belabor the controversies, but he's obviously an A-list figure for 40 years, and with that is going to come controversy. So if you get into the world of the internet, people have a different perspective of Hogan many times because of past stories that he's been linked to. But in general, as society goes, and that's why I bring back what I brought up at the top of this show, when I mentioned how all the police officers at the RNC ran to a screen to see Hulk Hogan speak, general society who doesn't follow pro wrestling day to day, they just know Hulk Hogan. He was a modern day superhero to children in the 1980s. He was literally, I think, the closest thing America had to a superhero to children. So that is remembered with a lot of nostalgia by a lot of people, but really starting in the 2000s with allegations of some racist comments years back, with some issues with Bubba the Love Sponge for a while there, and a lawsuit that he was involved in. That did tend to diminish some of the veneer. People knew more about Terry Bollea. You see there, I think he was wearing that black do-rag when he was in one of his trials there years ago. So he's the perfect image of this wrestling superhero has been tarnished over the last several years. But I think that's really for people who pay close attention. For general society, they just know that larger than life figure, and they know Hulk Hogan. And then, of course, the politics in the last year. When you get political, people develop opinions on you. It just is the nature of the beast. But yeah, Hulk Hogan has had a storied life for so many decades that you could ask 10 people on the street, you might get 5 or 6 different opinions on him.
Yeah, and we're getting way more opinions than that, Scott, on in our comments section. Now, I'm going to start to highlight some of those here. Folks, again, use hashtag KJB. I'll highlight your comment on screen. Lisa, I believe, on Facebook Lives asking, are they saying how he died? And yes, we have the details on WFLA.com. Please say that officers were called to a home where Hogan suffered cardiac arrest before 10 o'clock this morning. He was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. Once again, if you're just joining us, a 1:30 press conference has been called, and we're going to hear more about the circumstances surrounding the death of, again, Terry Bollea, known by the iconic stage name, performing name, Hulk Hogan. Get to some others. Brian on YouTube Live says, hey, JB, we all love him no matter what. And here are the comments that I was anticipating, because, Scott, we would get phone calls all the time here at the station. Hey, Hulk Hogan's over here, because he's one of those people that if you saw at the store, he's immediately recognizable, right? I mean, usually it's the handlebar mustache. Of course, it's the physique. So Chuck Andrews saying here on Facebook Live in our comment section, hey, JB, met him at the Don Cesar a few times. Great guy. Of course, the Don Cesar, a famous beach hotel here in St. Petersburg, Florida. Eddie says Hulk Hogan is like everyone's favorite uncle. You love him, you hate him, but you can't get enough of him. Christina saying Hogan, praying for your family from Southwest Florida. And then we'll go to Andy here. Hey, JB, my 80s taking a huge hit. First Ozzy and then the immortal one. So sad. Yeah, it's wild to think that in the last week alone, losing two mega icons of the 80s in Ozzy Osbourne.
And Malcolm Jamal Warner.
And yeah. Malcolm Jamal Warner as well. And so with that, I want to bring in Garrett and Rhett here. Guys, anything else that you're seeing online on social media as far as reaction or any other news that we can pass along to our audience?
Well, just as it was mentioned earlier, the online audience especially is a little bit more mixed in their opinion of Hulk Hogan. There's obviously, as we mentioned, the controversies that have, don't want to say scarred his legacy, but certainly have influenced how people see him online, and especially because of how politically charged the internet can be. Him taking a stance. I mean,
that's the nature of the
him
internet.
Taking a stance on one side of the aisle or the other means that you kind of are inviting that type of criticism and controversy from the other side, and so it's a lot of mixed reactions from what I'm seeing. One thing that I did note, just looking at some of the information here, the death comes just 3 days after Fox Nation actually acquired TV rights to his Real American Freestyle Wrestling tournament. That was supposed to happen August 30th. So, this is, I don't want to say that there's ever a good time, obviously, for someone to pass away, but we're going to be dealing with this for a little while here, because he's still going to have a lasting legacy, not only in this next month ahead leading up to that tournament, but also, he, as you mentioned, is a cultural icon. He transcended the WWE. He transcended wrestling. He, as you mentioned, you show a picture of Hulk Hogan to anybody in America, maybe to anybody in the world, and people are going to say, "Oh, I know Hulk Hogan."
Hulk Hogan, yeah. I mean, and ripping the shirt here. I mean, just some of the antics on stage, Scott, which will always be, you just absolutely iconic. Do you remember how old you were when you saw Hulk Hogan for the first time? Was it in a ring? Was it? I guess how far back we going here?
Well, it's going to show my age, but for me, it was when he first won the championship. I was a 7-8-year-old kid, and I see this on my family just got cable for the first time. And I see this larger-than-life superhero marketing with cereal, with toys, with everything. And I couldn't get enough. I kind of watched my local wrestling, which was a lot lower budget. But when Vince McMahon brought the World Wrestling Federation into every home in America through the advent of cable television, and they brought this guy, Hulk Hogan, I mean, I couldn't get enough. All us 80s kids. I mean, it was He-Man and Hulk Hogan. I mean, those were your real-life superheroes. Throw in G.I. Joe, and you would watch him on Saturday mornings. And if you look back at some of his interviews back then, you think, well, that, it may seem ridiculous now or maybe invite nostalgia, But imagine being a 8, 9, 10-year-old boy in America when that's on your television, when there's no internet, there's no streaming. It's this real life superhero telling you he wants you to say your prayers and eat your vitamins. That was Hulk Hogan. And we couldn't get enough. And then that time in 1987 when he body slammed Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
Like, that image has been played for 40 years. And it is an iconic image.
And as you mentioned, he went past just, I mean, obviously wrestling, you know, you think of it as young men or young boys who really get into this type of, you know, theater sport or whatever you want to call it, this truly performance level of a sport where you not only have to be a great athlete to do this, but you have to kind of be a bit of a ham, a bit of a character, and he certainly was able to embody that. And he took that on to a reality show. He was on VH1, Hogan Knows Best.
And Scott, you bring up these moments in time, you know, slamming Andre at WrestleMania 3, the heel turn in WCW when he ends up being the man with NWO. Like, there's a lot of these moments. And for me personally, you know, being a young kid in America, I think that another thing that speaks to Hogan's legacy is the generations of wrestling fans who have watched him go out there and do his thing. I remember being a young kid at my friend's house, and we were so stoked for Rock versus Hogan at WrestleMania 18. It was, again, you grow up watching the product. You hear at that time when I was younger, it was almost like folklore when it came to Hulk Hogan, just because I wasn't around to watch him slam Andre at WrestleMania 3. But to see him come back, to have his moment against The Rock on the grandest stage of them all that really WWE can offer, that was really, really cool as a kid. It was a huge moment. And, you know, Hogan's just got so many of those throughout his career.
It was interesting. On NBC, Dwayne Johnson did a sitcom called Young Rock that wrapped up a few years ago. And they portrayed all the actors portrayed all the wrestlers. And there's this scene there where Dwayne Johnson is getting Hollywood's interest. They all want a piece of Dwayne Johnson. And he says the only man he could relate to was Hulk Hogan. He was the only guy who had done that. Hulk Hogan was the first to get into movies. Now, Hulk Hogan's movies were garbage compared to what Dwayne Johnson did. But it showed what wrestling was capable of. If you go back and look at Hulk Hogan, it's not just wrestling. He's on Johnny Carson. He's doing movies. He's on MTV, and he hosted Saturday Night Live. Like, a wrestler didn't do that. I mean, wrestlers were a joke in the 70s to some people. I mean, there's got their fans, and I don't mean to disrespect it, and a lot of people took it very seriously. I obviously do. But to a lot of people, well, that's that corny fake wrestling. But then again, it became that Hulk Hogan thing. Hulk Hogan sold tickets. Hulk Hogan drove ratings. When Hulk Hogan went on the Arsenio Hall show, Arsenio's ratings bumped. When he went on Carson, his ratings bumped. Everywhere Hulk Hogan went, it was a cash cow. It was a ratings draw. And those iconic things of him becoming a bad guy in 1996. I couldn't believe it. I was a college kid. I'm like, how is this real? But Hulk Hogan had an ability, an innate ability to know what the fans wanted. He knew they were tiring of him as a good guy.
As you talk about this, obviously, one thing I can't help but think of is, you know, when a wrestler, when a celebrity in general is able to build a brand the way he has, I mean, can you name a more iconic facial hair?
Yeah.
You just see you just see the silhouette of the mustache and you immediately know that's Hulk Hogan.
And no one can do that. And I would argue Dwayne Johnson can't even do that, because you could theoretically go somewhere they don't recognize Dwayne Johnson. Because he looked so unique. I don't know if there's been a lot of debate over the years if Vince McMahon, the former owner of WWF, had went with someone else instead of Terry Bollea, that it would have gone as well. It just was the zeitgeist. It was the lightning in a bottle of getting that handlebar mustache guy who was not bald yet, but balding, and we didn't care. He's the only guy I could say who has the skullet who ever did as much as Hulk Hogan did. Macho Man Randy Savage, also from your area, kind of did the same thing, and I haven't mentioned his name yet. But the fact that he could be a guy going bald and still, you know, it didn't matter in an era of TV era where that's not allowed. Hulk Hogan didn't care. And he moved forward. I had him when he sat on my show. He complimented that we had matching hairstyles, but he just looks so unique, and everyone recognized him. Go watch that RNC speech. Watch the crowd. I watched every other RNC speech. The people on the screen right now were not reacting to anyone else.
Yeah,
maybe president at most.
I have a speech story when it comes to Terry in just a moment, but I want to ask you this question because Carl has this comment in our comment section, Scott, and says, "Hey JB, the first face of WWE, the most popular wrestler before Cena, there was Hulk Hogan." So here's I want to put you on the spot again here with Scott Johnson of the Going Ringside podcast. I'm curious. So in baseball, there's Babe Ruth. In basketball, there's Michael Jordan. In hockey, you have Wayne Gretzky. In football, you have Tom Brady. In racing, you have Dale Earnhardt. Is Hulk Hogan the equivalent? Is he the number one? Is he what you would call the GOAT of wrestling, or do other names come to mind in your estimation?
In my opinion, there's three guys who could make that, and you could argue people who I don't think are, like Ric Flair, Bret Hart, and all those guys. Three guys. One, no one's going to recognize the name. It's Dwayne Johnson, because he's the biggest star in Hollywood. He just is. Hulk Hogan, who I would argue is more recognizable than Dwayne Johnson, and a guy from the 50s, your grandparents' favorite wrestler named Gorgeous George. He was as popular as, he was more famous than Lucille Ball from I Love Lucy back in the day. Those three guys, I think, changed the industry in many ways, and I know wrestling fans right now are typing angrily at my statement right there. But I would argue Hulk Hogan is the Michael Jordan. He is the Babe Ruth. It all comes back to him. None of this happens without Hulk Hogan. None of it. Hulk Hogan changed the game. He changed everything. They came out of the shadows. They came out of being at carnivals and bingo halls and high school gymnasiums to massive entertainment venues, and they were no longer ashamed to be what everyone kind of in the 80s knew was a scripted form of entertainment. They could come out, even though we knew it was fake. They don't like that word. It's actual athleticism, but Hulk Hogan brought it out of the shadows, brought it into big, glitzy glamour, marketed it toward children. It used to be marketed toward your grandmother and old guys who would just go to the armory on a Saturday night. Hulk Hogan made it big mainstream entertainment, and I argue, yes, he's the Babe Ruth, he's the Michael Jordan.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, the Rock is the modern day sort of, I guess, equivalent. But
he's the LeBron James, maybe, to your Michael Jordan.
Right. There you go. I think
good analogy.
That's not a bad analogy at all. Again, if you're just joining us, everybody, stream producers Garrett Phillips, Rhett Fail Jr. across the top of your screen. JB here with you live in the bottom left, and Scott Johnson joining us from Jacksonville. He is the host of the Going Ringside podcast, joining us and providing a lot of context here for just the impact of this loss. Hulk Hogan, once again, dead at 71. Press conference set for 1:30. Yeah,
couple more comments here as the internet and more people around continue to react to this morning's news. Podcaster and former wrestler Simon Miller wrote online, he said, quote, "It's impossible to post anything else after the news of Hulk Hogan passing away. The truth is, despite a very difficult few years recently, which I also found hard, without Hogan, wrestling as we know today does not exist. One of the OG game changers. Reading the news hit me in a way that I can't really explain. Thoughts with his friends and family. There will never be another." Another former pro wrestler spent some time in WWE. Ryback wrote online and said, "Sending positive thoughts, energy, and prayers to Hulk Hogan's family and close friends during this time. Thank you for all the great memories and everything you gave to the business. Every encounter I had left a positive mark. Rest in power, brother." So again, throughout the course of the day, as more people react to the news, expect to see a lot more statements similar to these.
Yeah, just I think a lot of folks are still, pun not intended, wrestling with the news and grappling with it. I mean, because it's one of those things where, this is actually what I want to bring up with you, Scott, because we were just talking about it a moment ago. Right before the stream began, is that this is something that had been rumored for some time. I mean, even here in our newsroom, there had been whispers, there had been, talk, and you referenced the radio host or earlier who had made, mention of it. This is something that for a while has been rumored, and now we hear it to be true, and it lines up too. I mean, Hulk Hogan, it was always in front of the camera, but the last couple of months he's been largely absent.
Yeah, I was honestly surprised. So there was the radio speculation on almost a daily basis that sounded legit. Then his wife, Sky, his friend Jimmy Hart, also a Tampa fixture, a few others putting out stuff, no, he's okay. And it made sense. They said he had a spinal fusion surgery, and And Hulk's, not in the best health. He's in his 70s. I can understand he needs to be, stay away from the public eye while he recovers. I get that. Maybe he had there was speculation he had a trachea tube, and couldn't speak. There was speculation he had round the clock medical care at his house. No one knew it was real. It was just, and no one would really cover it in mainstream news. I mean, I'd talk about it on my show, but on my other job as a TV reporter, we wouldn't really talk about it because nothing was really confirmed. It was this nebulous thing. What's going on with Hulk Hogan? So it was concerning. It was disconcerting, and there had been a lot of drama in Hulk's own family in the last few months. Hulk's first wife, Linda, and his daughter, Brooke, had an online spat in the last few months. Hogan kind of made fun of. I mean, his family's been in the news over the years. So there was so much drama surrounding his life that no one quite knew what was real. We didn't know. I personally thought he would be okay. I mean, I saw the reports from Jimmy Hart that, he had spinal surgery and it takes a long time to get better. So we didn't know. So this news is just like a punch in the gut this morning.
Where are we right now and again, I want to remind our audience, we want to spotlight as many stories, comments, well wishes to the family, anything that you want to share in the comment section. The way that you let us know that you want your name and your comment on screen is to use hashtag HeyJB or just HeyJB in the comment section on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. I'm sorry if I have to repeat that, but we always have a lot of folks that are joining us in real time and letting them know that they can participate and contribute to our live stream. Where are we right now, Scott, in the wrestling calendar? Because obviously this is news that is going to reverberate around wrestling, and the big events, the pay-per-view events are obviously the marquee events for wrestling. So how is Hulk Hogan going to be honored in the weeks, months ahead?
Well, it's very interesting you should say that. So we're going into SummerSlam, which is their probably second biggest event of the year for WWE. But more importantly, Hulk Hogan's Real American Beer. If you kind of paid attention, he kind of became a beer salesman in the last year, starting this beer brand on top of all his kind of political, things that were going on. So he was going city to city selling this beer, and it had become one of the primary advertisers on Monday Night Raw, which now airs on Netflix. And maybe there are other shows like SmackDown, I'm not sure, but definitely it's on Netflix. So if you watch Monday Night Raw, you would see commercials from Hulk Hogan. And then in January, I think it was, WWE was in Los Angeles, Hulk Hogan and Jimmy Hart coming out to sell the beer. Jimmy's waving the American flag. You can go look it up on YouTube, and Hulk's there to promote the beer brand. And he got massively booed, which was a whole different discussion in and of itself. People thought he was booed because they don't like Hulk Hogan, because of past controversies. Others speculated because he's kind of politically aligned with Trump, and it was in Los Angeles, which is more of a blue area. So there have been a lot of debate on that. But he was still on Monday Night Raw every single week because of the beer brand. And we mentioned it earlier that he recently was doing his Real American Freestyle Wrestling. I think he just bought a bar in New York City, like across from Madison Square Garden. And so he was still an active businessman. While he was out of the public eye, Hulk Hogan was still going forward with stuff. This changes a whole business model for a lot of people.
Yeah, and even throughout the process of the beer company getting going and that brand really taking off, Hogan's never been one to shy away from the spotlight. So he was touring around the country for a while within the last year. I mean, he was going city to city, making appearances, doing meet and greets, showing up at concerts. I think he showed up at a big Tampa concert, if I'm not mistaken. It was Morgan Wallen or something else in Raymond James Stadium. He was still making sure that he was in the spotlight, his brand was in the spotlight. So I think that, honestly, in my opinion, adds to the confusion of a lot of these speculated reports over the last few months. There's been a lot of different reports, and that Jimmy Hart thing you had said, I think, was just as recent as this week or the week before. It was
last 2 days.
Yeah.
I think it was 2 days ago.
Yeah, and that's, again, for those of you just joining us, we have the press conference at 1:30, and we'll be carrying that here on this live stream, so we might get some answers and find out a little bit more about the 1:30 press conference. Once again, here live across all platforms with Scott Johnson, Rhett Fail Jr., Garrett Phillips, I'm JB Buno. Todd here with this comment, Malcolm, Ozzy, and now Hogan, my entire childhood. died this week. Let's see here. Tina says, JB, I had the pleasure of meeting him at the Palm on Clearwater Beach. Such a nice human being. So yeah, I'm gonna use this as an opportunity for the story. The only time I met Hulk Hogan, Terry Bollea. It was I think it was about 6 months ago. I don't remember exactly how long ago, but it was late last year or early this year. It was a fundraiser for Clearwater for Youth. I was the MC for a fundraiser, and Clearwater for Youth, great organization. Brooke Bennett, three-time Olympic gold from the area, is really a big part of CFY and raising money for youth programs in Pinellas County and Clearwater especially. And the headliner for the event to drum up support for CFY and that big fundraiser was the man you see here in the center of your screen, Hulk Hogan. Except we get there and I'm the MC, and it's my job, by the way, to introduce Hulk Hogan. I want you guys to know that
overwhelming.
That's overwhelming. How do you introduce this larger-than-life persona and trying to do it justice? Well, long story short, 10 minutes go by, 15 minutes go by, 20 minutes go by, and he's nowhere to be found. And everyone's looking around, and where is Hulk Hogan? And then people are like, oh my God, did he ghost the event? Right at around 30 minutes past the hour, he shows up with his whole family, profusely apologizing that he was late. And literally, there was no introduction needed. Just pass him the microphone, and he hops on stage, no notes, and gives by far the most eloquent speech that I've heard in a really long time about kids and about youth and about sports and about getting outside and about being athletic and about CFY and the fundraiser that night. And I was standing there off to the side after meeting him, and I was in complete awe, and I shouldn't have been surprised as I was, but the fact that he basically got there in a rush, was late, took the stage within seconds, and was able to nail this speech that you would have thought was delivered via teleprompter. It was utterly mind-blowing. The man's ability, even at the age of 70 into 71, to deliver on a microphone was absolutely unparalleled to me, because I saw it firsthand in that moment, and it really resonated with people. Scott, I think you were noting earlier, you're talking about his RNC speech, and yes, that's a political environment, that's a political venue. But when I tell you that I was watching the entire room, and everyone was at the edge of their seat on his every word, listening to the way that he was speaking about how important it is to give back to your community and to fund youth programs in the area, it was a very special moment. And it was maybe a 6, 7, 8 minute speech, but you wanted it to be longer. That's how good it was to hear just his perspective on not just giving back, but how much he loved Tampa Bay. This is a man who loved this area. I mean, growing up in this area, coming back to this area, retiring to this area, going shopping in this area, and stopping and meeting people. We heard stories for years about how he very rarely, if ever, I never heard a single story about him turning somebody down. He was always very gracious with his time. So that's my one Hulk Hogan story, but we're seeing it in the comments here. People who are saying, I met him and he could not have been kinder, could not have been more gracious. I don't think that I think politically, of course, what we saw from him in recent years, yeah, his political views were clearly on full display, but that not necessarily was the impression that you got from him when you met him in person. It was just all about just being a good human being and being kind to one another. So.
Well, I will say, you mentioned something that's interesting, that it's one of the reasons why I like doing my show about wrestlers, is because they're better on camera, in my opinion, than almost anyone else in entertainment.
Yeah.
If you take an actor, they can't do it. They're not used to it. If you take maybe some high-level politicians, these wrestlers, they are trained to get in front of a camera at the drop of a hat with no notes and just go off. And then when you get to Hulk Hogan's level, I mean, you can't understate how long he's been doing it. In front of a camera at the highest levels with the largest audiences. He is more comfortable in front of a camera than maybe anyone who's ever lived. I mean, you think of maybe just a handful of people ever. So it's why he has that skill set. And it makes me think. I had another guy, one of Hogan's contemporaries, good friends back in the named Hacksaw Jim Duggan. He wrestled in the '80s. People who watch wrestling in the '80s definitely know him. And he would say, we're more famous than Tom Brady. You mentioned Babe Ruth, you mentioned Michael Jordan. Yeah, they're icons in the USA, not in Europe, not in Asia,
Right.
not in Africa or Australia. Hulk Hogan is. I have a cameraman I work with from Egypt. I name these different celebrities, no idea who that is, no idea who that is, but Hulk Hogan's his hero. Hulk Hogan's his hero because they know him everywhere. There's few people across the globe that have had as much success as Hulk Hogan. I mean, I'm thinking very few. Michael Jackson, maybe.
Right.
I mean, it's just insane. And because he lived his life in front of a television camera, in front of massive crowds of thousands and thousands of people every night, no one has the skills in front of a camera that Hulk Hogan does.
And has resonated through the decades too. Yeah, I'm sorry. That was that Red or Garrett?
It was me. Just a couple more reactions here from pro wrestling alumni and active roster wrestlers. Charlotte Flair, the daughter of Ric Flair, multi-time WWE Women's Champion. She said, when I nearly lost my dad 8 years ago, one of the few people who was there for me throughout all of it was Hulk Hogan. My heart breaks for Nick and Brooke. Rest in peace, brother. Former WWE Champion John Bradshaw Layfield said, one of the reasons I got into wrestling, Hulk was always so nice to me and was the one celebrity that wanted to see the kids that I brought over from Bermuda. R.I.P. to a legend. There will never be another. Hulkamania never dies. And then a very close personal friend, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, said, through the good times and the bad, I always loved my brother Terry. I am devastated by the loss of my friend. I only wish we had time to mend our broken friendship before his passing. Until I see you, brother, in the big squared circle in the sky. So again, just endless support continuing to pour in from a lot of Hogan's colleagues and friends from over the years.
Rhett, I know that we're going to be saying farewell to you here on stream. Any final notes before we say farewell to you? Anything you want to pass along?
Not too much. Again, growing up as a wrestling fan, watching the product for a lot of years as a young kid, you always heard the stories of Hulk Hogan, and really the fact that he was able to perform throughout as many decades as he did. Had his last WWE match around 2006, but I believe he wrestled a few more matches after that. Multiple generations of people not only are aware of Hulk Hogan and his impact on the industry, but they got to potentially see him in action. And I think there's just a lot of people, even if they haven't watched wrestling in 20 years, who might be upset by the news today. Hogan meant a lot to very many people. That was the power of his brand. And as you guys have said, he was a lightning rod, and he will be missed.
Rhett, thanks for joining us here on stream. We'll let you go. Here's Governor Ron DeSantis was at a press conference on a completely, obviously unrelated issue, speaking, and was asked about the death of icon Hulk Hogan. Take a listen.
And before I get into the gist of today's information, just as a Floridian, as somebody that grew up in West Central Florida, I was sad to see the news that Hulk Hogan passed away today. He was a major icon for anybody in Gen X. I can tell you, growing up then in the 80s and particularly the early 90s, he was really big. And he actually really was a star first before even he was Hulkamania, but when he was Thunder Lips in Rocky III. And that was like a huge deal. I mean, obviously that was a great movie franchise with Sylvester Stallone. So he was Thunder Lips, and then a couple years later became the World Wrestling Federation heavyweight champion. And, as a young kid, I'm growing up, and it's that was like somebody's like, wow, that's our superhero kind of deal. And the fact that he was from a Tampa Bay area when I'm growing up there, I was like, oh my gosh, this guy lives in our area. And, back then when they would do these big events like WrestleMania, you could go to it, which obviously I wasn't in a position to be able to go to. But they didn't have even pay-per-view where you would pay for it to come on the cable. They had closed circuit. So you could go to a venue and they would play it on a really big screen. And so the first few WrestleManias, I think, were like that. Closed circuit. So you would go and you would have that, and then you'd just kind of watch it. So I just remember like WrestleMania 2, he's fighting Andre the Giant. And look, I was a kid. I didn't know that it was choreographed, right? I mean, I was like really worried that he was going to be able to do, but he slammed Andre the Giant. That was like a huge thing for like kids in that era. And so, you know, and we were with him just a couple of months ago. My kids got to meet him and everything. So I was really sad to see that. And our thoughts and prayers go out to his family and people throughout this region of Florida, because I know so many people cared about him.
And that was, again, Governor Ron DeSantis speaking at a press conference. I think he opened up the presser, actually, now that I listened to that, and wanted to address the passing, once again, of Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan, dead at 71. The time now, 1:01 Eastern, and we are preparing for a 1:30 press conference. Let me confirm.
If I could interject, I'll say two things on that.
Sure, absolutely.
First, I'm not surprised the governor did that. Governor has said some things over the years. I follow it because this is my job. He's hinted he's a wrestling fan. So the fact that he knew the details, I think he got off the top of his head. I don't think that those were prepared remarks. Also, do not be surprised if President Trump talks about him today. I'm almost certain the president will have a statement. If he hasn't already put it out, he'll probably speak on camera about it. He and Hulk were close. They first got to know each other at WrestleManias 4 and 5, respectively. There's some famous images of him, the president, Hogan, and Andre the Giant going into, I think it was WrestleMania 4. So they've been longtime friends, and I'm almost certain that the president will speak out about the Hulkster's passing.
I've already seen a reaction from Donald Trump Jr., who has shared a RIP to a legend Hulk Hogan message on X. I have not seen the rest of the Trump family, but you're right. I'm sure that this is something that is coming sooner rather than later.
Yeah, you would imagine the first on-camera appearance that President Trump has, and it doesn't matter if it's with a world seated side by side with a world leader. You would imagine he's just going to take a moment to address somebody who quite literally stumped for him. As he, of course, tried to reclaim the White House just last year. Again, Scott Johnson joining us, and Scott, we're going to spend another, I believe, 5 minutes with you, and as we get ready for the 1:30 press conference. Anything? Let me just kind of tee up here, because while we have you for another 5 minutes, anything that you think gets lost in the conversation about Hulk Hogan? I think you've done a really you've been extremely eloquent in speaking about perhaps the most recognizable figure to ever be in professional wrestling. But what are some of the things that you think people don't really realize about Hulk Hogan? Some of the things that
trying to remember off the top of my
lost
head,
in translation.
Yeah, but before he was famous, Hulk Hogan played the guitar. He is a teenager. He was in a band. Looked like a surfer dude if you look back at some of the old photos. So kind of how it happened for him was he started wrestling before WWF and Vince McMahon in the 1970s with a different company called AWA back when wrestling was all territorial. And he used to face Andre the Giant, but we never knew it. We always thought in 1987 when he famously slammed Andre the Giant, that was the first time. Well, it wasn't the internet era, so as far as the public was concerned, it was the first time. No, they fought before that. They fought back when they were wrestling for smaller companies. And there was always the debate on who's the guy that Vince McMahon should take to make his company national. And when he did Rocky III, that really cemented Hulk Hogan's the guy. With the muscles, the long blonde hair, they were looking for someone like that. And Hulk Hogan was the guy. And I noticed that his convention speech, I looked very closely. He mentioned other wrestlers in the speech. He mentioned Andre. He mentioned Macho Man Randy Savage, also from your area, and he mentioned the Ultimate Warrior. And I thought that was interesting because I'm like, he didn't mention when he became the evil NWO Hulk Hogan. He didn't mention facing The Rock. Hulk Hogan knew that his 1980s run is something wrestling fans and non-wrestling fans alike recognize. They remember his time against Macho Man. They remember his time against the Ultimate Warrior and slamming Andre. He recognizes that run in the 1980s when he was the face of wrestling could not be understated. I mean, it was something that America remembered. It was the way they remember Michael Jordan's heyday in the 1990s, or they think of Babe Ruth way back in the day. He recognized, another thing about Hulk Hogan, and this is important. Many people have their rush with celebrity and it ends after 10 or 20 years. Hulk Hogan never did. After wrestling, he did Hogan Knows Best, the reality show with his family. He remained in the headlines, controversial or not. To this last year with the politics, with the beer brand, Hulk Hogan knew he could always remain on the front page. Good or bad, Hulk Hogan was always in the news. So many people, I remember that guy. You never had to say that about Hulk Hogan. He was always relevant from 1984 to 2024. Hulk Hogan was always the man. Everyone knew him. He never left the public eye.
Scott, just because I know you're a wrestling super fan, the number one single most significant in the ring moment in Hulk Hogan's career is what?
I will give you the top three. Number one is when he slammed Andre the Giant. If you watch WWE for the last 30 years, every time they do like taped video vignettes, it's him slamming Andre the Giant. That is the iconic moment in front of 93,000 people. One of the most recognizable things that has ever happened is that. Number two, I would say when him and Dwayne Johnson face off, there's a famous image. I can't recreate it.
Of the two of them, look like staring at each other.
They look opposite directions.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting match because the fans were supposed to hate Hulk Hogan. But during that match, they turned. They started cheering the evil Hulk Hogan and booing the babyface The Rock.
Yeah.
And Dwayne and Hulk had to figure out in the ring how to play up to that. And that shows what pro wrestlers can do. It is a performance art. And these are two of the best ever. And they knew how to play to that in the ring. And then number three, and people forget about it, but it's so important, is him with Mr. T. Yeah. When Hulk Hogan went on the A-Team, which for 10-year-old boys to have Hulk Hogan on the A-Team in the 1980s, so important. When he's on MTV, it was Cyndi Lauper. I mean, Cyndi Lauper was the biggest music star on the planet at that time. It's just so important. It was so important, and people overlook that because they live in the now. Without that run in 84, 85 with Mr. T, I don't know that any of this still exists.
Scott, we really appreciate your time, your insight, your expertise, and your passion here on the stream. Where can people find you? Where can people find the podcast?
Go to youtube.com, type in @Going Ringside, or just Google Going Ringside. You'll find us. We got the biggest stars in the world, like the Hulkster, every single week.
All right. Scott Johnson of the Going Ringside podcast, being very, very generous with his time, really on a sad day for wrestling fans everywhere. Scott, we really appreciate you joining us here on the stream.
Thank you.
All right. Back here with you live with producer Garrett Phillips. And Scott, a tremendous guest. And shout out to Rebecca Barry for helping us track down Scott on such short notice, by the way. This is still developing news, by the way, folks, that we have here right in our backyard, as we're about to hear soon. And I'll pass along some details about the press conference that we are about to have. Actually, I don't have it in front of me. Who exactly called the press conference? That's something I'm trying to find out, Garrett.
I will find out for you here in one moment.
Because I want to know who's going to be speaking. I want to know what the expectations are. I was just told that a Clearwater press conference is going to be taking place at 1:30 to address any questions and comments and concerns. Actually, I believe we have a live source for that now. So let's hit the touchscreen here. And let's take you to that live source if I can. Here it is. Or no, we just lost it. It's actually, oh no, that's a
6.
different. Oh, okay, so it is. So this is it then.
This is outside of Hogan's home in, I believe, Clearwater, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so there's Clearwater Police. A perimeter has been set up. Blocking any news access down the street. And so as soon as we'll stay here with this live shot, because as soon as we get some more information about this scene in particular, we'll pass it along here with you. So I'll be coming back to this as soon as I can. Garrett, I'm about to get ready to introduce our next guest. In the meantime, what are you seeing online?
Just a quick update on the presser. The presser is at the Clearwater Police Department, and it was called by the police department. There's no current details on who we are expecting to hear from, only that the media briefing will be at 1:30 at the headquarters, obviously on the situation after the Clearwater Fire Department and Clearwater Police responded to that medical call around 9:51 this morning to the Clearwater Beach home of one Hulk Hogan. Still looking at more reactions. As I mentioned previously, waiting for reactions from more. We are expecting will make some form of statement at some point for a man who did stump for him, who did campaign for him during the 2024 election. Looking for anything else that we can see. As we had previously mentioned on the stream, Hogan, obviously a very recognizable figure, not just in wrestling, but in pop culture as a whole, with the multiple reality show appearances, the appearance in Rocky III, multiple different wrestling matches. Hogan obviously making a very big impact, and really something that cannot be understated is the way that somebody can kind of build a brand for themselves. And Hogan did that, and not just one thing I mentioned earlier, the iconic kind of handlebar mustache that everyone can recognize as the Hulk Hogan mustache. But right here, you see the shirt ripping. I think he probably coined that.
How many kids did that and ripped through T-shirts in their bedrooms because they wanted to be Hulk Hogan?
I remember friends who would have their fathers would buy them basically throwaway shirts that they would pre-cut so that it was easier to get the rips going, so that your little kid could do that.
It was pretty embarrassing if you went to rip the shirt and you didn't have the strength to do it.
A lot of dads and moms out there who set that up for them.
One man who I know didn't have any difficulty whatsoever ripping a shirt like Hulk Hogan if he ever tried to. Right here from the Tampa area, joining us here on stream, retired wrestler Joe Malenko. Joe, first and foremost, can you hear us? Do you have us? You're joining us via Zoom. And
I can hear you fine.
Good to have you. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. Obviously for news that is still resonating through not just the world of sports and entertainment, but right here in the Tampa Bay area. What's your reaction to the news that Hulk Hogan, Terry Bollea, has passed away at the age of 71?
I'm in the business of professional wrestling. Every time you turn around, somebody's passing away. It's a tough business. We've got an extraordinary number of people who have died over the last few years, relative to the size of the business. So it's disconcerting at a big level. And then when somebody who has the notoriety that Hogan had passes, obviously it makes a mark. We've gotten to a place where we've bastardized so many words: icon, Hall of Famer. I mean, everybody just throws words around every which way. Hogan was those guys. Hogan was the guy who set the tone. He built WWE, WWF at the time, built him, and he brought wrestling back to national notoriety. It was there once many decades ago, and he brought it back and really changed the face of wrestling.
Your interactions with him over the years, and just how you've perceived him over the course of your life.
I mean, I've not been the closest of friends to him. I've just been an acquaintance that has known him for a very long time. It was funny because when he came into the business, my dad was kind of stepping away from the business. My dad had a run here in Florida in the 60s, and Hogan was a fan of my father's. So he would sneak into Regal Lane's bowling alley on Armenia Avenue just to catch a glimpse of my dad back in the day, when he was still at Robinson. So kind of, that's kind of a long history, but not a lot of meat to it, because again, I was just another wrestler plying my trade out there and ran into him on occasion. There are guys in this town that are much closer to him than I was, but I definitely can speak to the fact that if you say anything bad about this guy, if you want to judge him at all, it's sour grapes. He was a big part of making this business what it is today, all these guys who have since become movie stars, all of that was was from that springboard of Hogan doing what he did.
Well, I mean, it's an incredible statement to be able to say that your father had a fan in somebody who was as, frankly, legendary as Hulk Hogan. I mean, to have somebody almost look up to you, who then would go on to become, as we've talked about all stream, kind of the face of wrestling.
But that's the way this works, right? I mean, we all do what we do on the shoulders of others. I mean, there's, even my dad had his people, so it's just a natural progression. Of course, Hogan made it to a stage that my dad could have only dreamed of. He just he hit it at the right time. He was the right personality. He had the right look and feel and talk the talk. And people say this all the time: there'll never be another Hulk Hogan. There probably will never be another Hulk Hogan.
Well, so let's tap into that, Joe, because one thing, you could point to so many different things, but I think your perspective here is interesting. What is it? I mean, there were thousands of wrestlers through the decades that have tried to reach superstardom. What was it that caused Hulk Hogan to break through? What made Hulk Hogan special?
If you look at the basics, first and foremost, he had, through WWF and McMahon, he had a tremendous platform. People on Facebook nowadays, they have a chance to talk with thousands, and if Facebook didn't exist, they wouldn't even have their 15 minutes, as Andy Warhol once said. So, what gave him the opportunity to become him was first and foremost him. He had the look and the feel and the talk, and he walked it, and then he had this platform that just allowed him to reach millions of people. And what's the magic formula? What's that that infamous X factor? If you can figure that out, let me know, and we'll both make millions, maybe more, maybe more than millions.
Bottle it, right?
I've known guys in this business who I thought were some of the best guys in the ring ever, and they never got anywhere. And I know other guys who, they were fair, and they've made a fortune and they achieved stardom.
As we look here live in the center of your screen, folks, this is a live picture from outside the home of Terry Bollea, of course, known internationally as Hulk Hogan, being joined here by Joe Malenko here on the stream, just providing some context. What are some of the things you think that get lost in translation, Joe, about Hulk Hogan? Some of the things that, because of course, lives this incredibly large life, both inside the ring, outside the ring, finds himself in controversy, but also, tremendously successful as a superstar and able to stay relevant through the years. I think that's something that people don't really understand, is that it's one thing to get to superstardom, but to stay there from the 80s into the 90s into the 2000s and be a household name for so long. What are some of the things that you think that people get misconstrued about Hulk Hogan and the life that he lived?
I mean, I think as we get to these later years and the politicizing of things, that obviously played a role in where views are currently. But you can't look at any part of his life without going back to what he did in ring and his persona and what he built. And to look at Hulk Hogan and all he became, you have to start and kind of really just focus in on who he was with the WWF, WWE, and what he did for the business in his time, before he changed to other things.
Before we let you go, I want to give you just the floor, Joe. I mean, something that you want to share about Hulk Hogan now that we know that he has passed away here in Clearwater, Florida at the age of 71. Anything that you would like to share? The floor is yours.
I think the main thing is that everybody in this business has the level of thanks that should exist. If it doesn't, then they're foolish. We all who wrestled should have a level of thanks for Hogan and what he brought to this business. And we all just need to remember. We just all need to remember that we're getting older. We need to all stay in touch, and it's a tight knit community, and we'll all do that. And God rest in peace. Rest in peace, Terry.
Joe Malenko joining us from right here in Tampa, right? You're joining us from Tampa, Joe?
Yes, sir.
All right, Joe, we really appreciate your time, and thank you so much for joining us here on the stream. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, Joe Malenko joining us here, just the latest person to share some thoughts on the passing of Hulk Hogan. You can see now here in the center of your screen, this is now live from Clearwater, a picture that is literally just coming into the stream center of the podium where Clearwater police are going to be addressing the passing of Terry Bollea, known, of course, by Hulk Hogan at the age of 71. This is not a normal press conference for a passing from cardiac arrest,
No,
of course. Cardiac arrest doesn't normally, lead to a press conference, but given who was lost today and given the fact that there's going to be so many questions and people just want it straight from the source, Clearwater Police calling a press conference just to be able to address the passing of Hulk Hogan and to answer any questions as we understand they're going to be answering questions on his passing. And again, so the live picture is here. This is outside the home, and we'll be bringing you the press conference here live. What else are you seeing out there, Garrett?
Well, Ty Russell, WFLA's own, did share out to our newsroom a statement that was passed along by the mayor of Clearwater. Said Terry, known to the world as Hulk Hogan, was an inspiration to our entire Clearwater community and millions around the world. He was so proud of his home city and was very active in our community. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family, and his memory will forever have a presence and legacy in Clearwater. Of course, that is from Mayor Bruce Rector. Looking for more interactions, more reactions, as you mentioned online. Earlier, we were talking about kind of the perception that people have of Hulk Hogan, both online and offline, and about how maybe some of his controversies, some of his policies in terms of politics, maybe didn't make him a lot of fans online. So a lot of reaction that were coming in that is decidedly mixed. Of course, there's still plenty that are giving well wishes to him and to the family as we look for more information.
And we do now have a split screen up here, folks, a split screen that we're going to be featuring prominently over the course of the next half hour. Again, 1:30 Eastern, so in about 8 minutes from now, actually less, closer to 7 minutes from now, we are going to have the press conference here from Clearwater Police, the shot that you see there on the left side of your screen. On the right side of your screen, that's down the street, really, a down the street shot from the block where Hulk Hogan resided. Again, if you just joined us in the last few minutes and you missed the news, there was a cardiac arrest that occurred shortly before 10 a.m. this morning. Hulk Hogan rushed to the hospital where he was pronounced dead at the age of 71, and just we're getting tremendous amounts of reaction right now across the internet, both from people here locally. I think we have to emphasize again how much he meant to the Tampa Bay area, how much he contributed to the Tampa Bay area on a regular basis. And then, of course, getting reaction just from superstars and celebrities, around the country and around the world. So as soon as we see one that we should be passing along, we're going to pass it along here to you, but also let you know that we can share your comments from Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Use hashtag KJB if you want me to spotlight your comment right out of the Facebook Live or YouTube Live comment section.
It's something else that we talked about earlier with our guest, with Scott, talking about how wrestling, especially in the era in which Hulk Hogan came up in it, there was kind of like a modern day superhero, if you will, or a real world superhero. Obviously his name, Hulk Hogan, he adopts that name because of the comparisons that people made to the comic book character, the Incredible Hulk. If you've ever picked up a comic or watched a Marvel movie, chances are you've seen the Incredible Hulk before. And the Incredible Hulk is a towering figure, incredibly muscular, very big man. And people at the time back, were comparing Hulk Hogan in terms of physique to the CBS program, the television program, The Incredible Hulk, which starred Lou Ferrigno in the title role. And so, it just goes to show, how much of a dedicated athlete he was, because to put on that type of muscle, to have that type of physique, I think he was 6'8", at one point weighed 300 pounds at the peak of his career. That type of work that you have to put in to build that type of physique, it's not easy to do. There was a Netflix documentary or a biopic that they were going to make with Chris Hemsworth, who plays Thor in the Marvel movies, who, Chris Hemsworth is a big guy, but Chris Hemsworth himself had said the Netflix movie has been scrapped since. But he said that when he was training to play the Incredible Hulk, or to play Hulk Hogan rather, it was some of the most intense training he's ever done, and he had to do a lot of work to try and match that size, that look that Hulk Hogan is known for. Something that he did. He had to do more of that type of work than he even had to do for his Thor appearances. It just kind of goes to show, how much dedication you have to be able to build that type of physique, and to dedicate your life to the career that you have. And again, we talked about how these wrestlers have kind of become real world superheroes to a lot of people, to a lot of young men and a lot of boys when they were growing up at that time. That goes to show exactly why that's the sentiment.
So, folks, if you're just joining us, we're about to prepare for the press conference here. It's actually a live picture in the center of your screen. It's a zoomed-in shot of the podium where Clearwater Police are going to be speaking at 1:30. That's about in 3.5 minutes from now, and we anticipate that they'll be starting somewhat close to on time. We also have the picture here from Hulk Hogan's home, or the street where Hulk Hogan resided, right there in Clearwater, not too far away from Clearwater Police, where that press conference is going to be carried. To our entire audience watching wherever you're watching from, we're going to stay here with you live, with the exception of Facebook. Facebook, we're going to be restarting a new Facebook live stream specifically for the press conference. So Facebook Live audience, keep it locked to the WFLA Facebook page. You're going to be getting a brand new live stream that we're going to be reaching out to a whole new audience specifically for the developments that we get out of the 1:30 press conference from Clearwater Police, again, on the death of Hulk Hogan. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in 90 seconds.
AJB Live will begin momentarily. AJB Live will begin momentarily. Breaking news from the Stream Center. Here's JB Buno.
You're looking at a live picture from Clearwater, Florida, of the home of wrestling icon, legend, Hall of Famer Hulk Hogan, who passed away this morning at the age of 71. Terry Bollea, as he was known here in the Tampa Bay area, missed by so many. An outpouring of support in our comment section and on social media everywhere. Welcome in, folks, to the Stream Center. JB here with you alongside stream producer Garrett Phillips. Let's go split screen and show you exactly where we're taking you live to. On the left side of your screen, Clearwater Police Headquarters. They're going to be holding a press conference momentarily on the passing of Hulk Hogan. On the right side of your screen, that's Hulk Hogan's home in Clearwater, Florida. This is a zoomed-in shot because police have set up a perimeter. They're not letting media down the street, so this is a zoomed-in shot as best as we can get, showing you the home of the late wrestling icon. And again, if you're just joining us, cardiac arrest this morning. We're about to find out more details. Let's listen in here live.
My name's Nate Burnside. I'm a major with the Clearwater Police Department. The correct spelling of my first name is Nate. Last name is Burnside. I'm up here with Interim Deputy Chief John Klonfelter from the Clearwater Fire and Rescue. Just before 10 a.m. today, Clearwater Fire and Rescue, along with the Clearwater Police Department, responded to a house in the 1000 block of El Dorado Avenue for a medical-related call. It was discovered at that time Terry Bollea, also known as Hulk Hogan, was experiencing a serious medical-related issue. Personnel provided medical treatment at that time and transported Mr. Bollea to Morton Plant Hospital, where he died at 11:17 a.m. The Clearwater Police Department is conducting a death investigation, which is standard in these types of cases. There are no signs of foul play or suspicious activity related to this call for service at this time. Our personnel is providing the family with the necessary resources. I'm strongly encouraging everyone to keep the family in their thoughts and respect their privacy during this difficult time. We will not be answering any questions, but we will provide additional information when it becomes available. Any public records request should be filed through our public records section with the Clearwater Police Department. No records will be released today. Our thoughts are with the family, and again, we ask everyone to respect their privacy during this difficult time. Thank you.
And just like that, a very short press conference from Clearwater Police, not taking any questions, saying that there is no foul play suspected of any kind. Once again, Hulk Hogan passing away at the age of 71, according to reports, again, right before 10 o'clock this morning. You just heard the latest there from Clearwater Police, just a brief statement. I think it was wrapped up in less than 90 seconds, not taking questions from the media or any, obviously, reporters in the room.
And making it very clear that we're not going to get a lot more details right now. They're still going through the process, and this can, take some time. There'll be, checks to the autopsy report and all that other stuff. Not that there was anything that is suspicious or to be suspected, but they basically said, hey, this is this is pretty clear cut, and you're not going to get a lot more out of this right now. So if that's what you're waiting for, keep waiting.
Yeah, I mean, a bit interesting only because you the press conference was called to provide more details, but then really the details weren't really much more than what we already know, was that there was a medical emergency obviously that occurred this morning, and that it occurred here at the home, and then as a result Hulk Hogan passing away at a local hospital. So really not too much that we get out of the press conference, but they're gonna play it back here, as I understand it. So they're going to feed it back one more time. So for those of you who just joined us and perhaps missed it, we'll play it back again if they decide to refeed it. But that's really was it. I mean, really just a brief statement from the Clearwater Police Department, again, on the passing of Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan, 71 years old. Garrett Phillips, JB Buno here with you. We're going to continue to spotlight comments. If you would like your comment to be featured on our live stream, you can, of course, use hashtag HeyJB. We'll look for some other hashtags here too, like from Rivera. He will be remembered forever. Hashtag Hulk Hogan. Yeah, there's no doubt that this is somebody who transcended the sport that they represented. Emerging and bursting onto the scene in the 80s, becoming a pop culture icon. We had Scott Johnson on in the last hour, who is the host of the Going Ringside podcast, talking about just really the cultural impact of Hulk Hogan and just how much he was recognized around the world. He might have called Tampa, Florida home. This might have been his home right here in Tampa, but known to people and wrestling fans or non-wrestling fans really globally. And so this is a bit of news that's getting reaction from around the world.
And it will continue to. I mean, as we mentioned, Hulk Hogan is a man who you can argue made three different, well, I say three, maybe even more different kind of iconic imagery or statements for himself. We talked about the mustache, that is recognized throughout the world. We talked about the shirt ripping again that you're seeing right here. People to this day, there are many people who are wrestling fans who grew up in the 80s or maybe even non-wrestling fans who know the word brother and immediately think of Hulk Hogan.
No, not brother. Brother.
There you, I can't say it quite as well.
Bro, you got to at least try it. You got to try.
You got to try it. Brother. Didn't work.
Yeah, it's hard.
But I mean, and part of that is because, again, as you mentioned, wrestling, he certainly was able to make a character for himself and that transcended wrestling, and he did so through other media appearances. We talked about his appearance in Rocky III, where he played a wrestler, Thunderlips, who, if you remember, got to throw Rocky Balboa himself around the ring and for lack of a better word, kind of beat him up a little bit in that movie, and that became a very iconic moment for Hulk Hogan. We talked about the VH1 show Hogan Knows Best. If there was one thing Hulk Hogan knew how to do other than wrestle, which of course he knew how to do, it was how to make his brand and how to promote it.
Yeah, I shared a story in the last hour of just how talented Hulk Hogan was on the mic, and just the signature moments, the tearing of the T-shirt. Mm-hmm. I would be lying if I said that as a kid I didn't try it. I mean, every kid tried it, and it didn't make mom happy, but you tried it anyway. And by the way, the trick to ripping the T-shirt and not looking really weak in front of your friends or family is you just snip the collar.
A little bit of a cut right at the top.
Yeah, at the top.
Get it started.
Just to get it started, and then you rip, and then you look like you're really strong like Hulk Hogan. That was the tricks that we told ourselves as kids to try to pull off that move because it was iconic.
And the thing about it is not only is it iconic, I mean, it almost transcends Hulk Hogan, which is, that's how you've made an impact when something goes so far that they don't even realize what the source of it was anymore. People see the ripping of the shirt, and you've seen many movies, where that exact move has been pulled off by many an action star, many, celebrations, whether it be on sports fields or courts, a lot of that. Not everybody knows that kind of started with him.
Yep. And a life too that we understand, and people in our comment section are pointing out, a life that did contain controversy, stories that have been reported on over the years, that of course extraordinarily controversial. And in recent years too, Hulk Hogan becoming a political figure in stumping for now President Donald Trump, and
speaking at the RNC,
and and that of course creates conversation online where you're not anymore just a wrestling icon. You're quite literally a political lightning rod. And so, there's so much more to Terry Bollea's life. We're going to be getting into that tonight on WFLA News Channel 8. Our team right now is preparing a lot of, in memoriam material that we're going to be airing on our station tonight. I'm sure that we got, some interesting stuff in the archives, by the way, here at the station. We have 3/4-inch tapes. I'm sure if you look back, we're going to find some really interesting stuff, because this is somebody who really, called Tampa Bay home, called Tampa, Florida home.
And if you know anything about Hulk Hogan, he does not, just because he called this area home doesn't mean he was sitting at home the whole time.
Right.
He was out there in the community. He was a figure, and anyone in the area who has lived here long enough has probably had some type of run-in with him, whether it be at an event or out in public, and it probably has a story.
Yep. We're looking here live, folks, by the way, at outside of Hulk Hogan's home. For those of you just joining us, it's a live picture there in the center of your screen. Clearwater Police just putting up a perimeter. Look, it's for the media, because I would imagine it's beyond the media, too. I would imagine that there are people in the area, even people that are on vacation that are like, oh, my God, is that Hulk Hogan's house? Didn't he die today? And probably getting out their phones and trying to capture, videos or snapshots and stuff. And this is all about, obviously, giving the family privacy. And also, too, this is a scene where he was transported to the hospital and later died. So Clearwater Police, blocking anyone from getting any closer, including the media, and that's why our shot is from this vantage point. But we were able to zoom in and kind of show you Hulk Hogan's home for what it is worth. Shannon Moss in our comment section. Hey JB, very sad day. R.I.P. Brother. Brother. Yeah, no, I'm also not great at it. No. I'll work on it. My first one was better. Peggy, hey JB, I also remember him on Walker, Texas Ranger. Was that true? Yeah, was he on Walker, Texas Ranger?
That. I didn't know that. I'll check that right now.
I wish that we could just throw up anything, because I would bring up the clip on YouTube and we could play it back.
Oh.
And that's obviously with Chuck Norris. So you would imagine, two larger than life personalities. Oh yeah, Hulk Hogan on Walker, Texas Ranger. The quintessential Chuck Norris show. I remember him as Thunder Lips in Rocky 3. Because Rocky 3, I think, is my favorite Rocky.
And it's I think, his most iconic appearance on a screen. Now, that was not obviously at WrestleMania or any of the other WWF or E, as it is now known, events. I remember I can't remember which family member now. I want to say my mother loved the Goldbergs. You ever watch the Goldbergs?
I have watched the Goldbergs.
Hulk Hogan appears on the Goldbergs.
Yeah, you would imagine that's a great cameo for any show.
Absolutely.
To get. Any sitcom, like, hey, can we get Hogan? It would be what do you remember from it?
I honestly, I just remember his, really where I remember his appearances the most was actually when he would voice himself in the cartoons that I would watch, like the American Dad cartoon, the adult cartoons would have Hulk Hogan cameos. I think Robot Chicken had an appearance by Hulk Hogan one time. And that's one of the other things too about when you appear on those types of shows.
Yeah.
Really you're not appearing to try and make yourself look cool. You're appearing to kind of poke fun at yourself a little bit. And that is one thing that I always appreciate and find a way to kind of respect somebody who will do that cameo as themselves, that pokes fun at themselves. Somebody who has a sense of humor, that always helps to endear you to a wider audience.
Again, here live, Garrett Phillips, stream producer, JB Buno here with you in the Stream Center, folks. Live picture in the center of your screen from down the street from where Hulk Hogan resided, passing away at the age of 71. WFLA.com, by the way, is your one-stop shop for any updates on this story. As we get in more information from police, as we get in more information from local officials, that's the place where it's going to be. Also, just all the content in memoriam that we're going to be uncovering and all the things we're going to be reporting on. You're going to find it all on our website, WFLA.com. But again, we're gonna spend the next 15 or so minutes with you here on stream. Hulk Hogan passing away at the age of 71, suffering cardiac arrest just before 10 a.m., taken to Morton Plant Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. As far as we were talking earlier, Hulk Hogan's significance to professional wrestling, both as an athlete and as a stage performer with a microphone in his hand, what he meant to wrestling, and this is with everyone that really we've brought on thus far, is the equivalent to a Babe Ruth and what Babe Ruth meant for baseball, or Michael Jordan, what Michael Jordan meant to basketball, transcending quite literally the platform that he burst through the ceiling on. And that was what was really just tremendous, is that there were so many performers at the time that were trying to reach this level of superstardom. Hulk Hogan was really the one to do it at a level that we now identify as the modern day celebrity, right? Like being able to not just be enormous in the world of wrestling, but being able to go on to Johnny Carson, being able to be in a Hollywood film with Sylvester Stallone, being able to make cameo appearances in your favorite TV show, and do a pretty good job doing a lot of that stuff because he was this larger than life personality. That's why, Garrett, it's interesting. I'm really curious to see, how, has anything come out from The Rock yet, or John Cena? Because they followed in the footsteps in many ways, in many respects, of Hulk Hogan. So their tributes, I'm sure, are going to be particularly
I've been looking for a few more, and I found a few more wrestler reactions. Triple H Obviously,
that's another one. Yeah,
he's a 14-time champion. He's a chief content officer with WWE right now. He put out a statement said WWE would not be where it is today without the larger-than-life characters that compete in the ring, and few, if any, loom larger than Terry Hulk Hogan Bollea. He was the archetype of what it meant to be a superstar, a global sensation that inspired millions to work hard at whatever it was they wanted to accomplish, and a look that made him recognizable to fans around the world. Hulk Hogan, clad in red and yellow or black and white, was simply put iconic. As a real American or a leader of one of the industry's biggest factions, he transcended and elevated the entire business to heights never before seen in every country and on every continent. There was no one like the Hulkster, and there were very well may never be another. My family sends their condolences to his family, friends, and fans. Kane, another big name in WWE, also put out a statement. Hulk Hogan was a true legend. I was fortunate to work with him a couple of times, including this memorable one, sharing a video of their time together on X. It was easy to do a Hulkster impersonation when, like millions of guys my age, I'd practiced it in the mirror 1,000 times growing up, talking about, how inspirational he was, not only to, the people that came after him, but also to the rest of the community.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Nikki Jernigan in our comment section saying Hulk Hogan was on Law and Order Special Victims Unit. Hey JB, there was also a lawsuit that occurred. Actor Richard Belzer had filed a lawsuit against Richard Belzer, who plays on SVU on Law and Order. I forget the name of the character. Someone help me out here. But he's one of the main detectives on SVU. He's Ice-T's partner in SVU. And there was a lawsuit that occurred. One of the controversies that surrounded Hulk Hogan, one of the many over the course of the years. There it is, John Munch. Thank you. And Belzer versus Bollea, I'm looking at it here, was a lawsuit that had been filed after Belzer sued Hogan for personal injury after Hogan put a sleeper hold on him. So it's interesting that Nikki is bringing up the Law and Order appearance, but yeah, there's that. There's that as well. The front chin lock that Hogan put Belzer in. One of the controversial moments in outside of the ring, I should say, rather. So yes, a controversial life in many respects, but also to a life where Hulk Hogan dedicated so much of his time to giving back to the Tampa Bay area and to inspiring wrestlers far and wide. Here's another story. Storm says, my dad once told me about Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan, and watching it now. Yeah, look, you would imagine that the YouTube clips of Hulk Hogan for those iconic moments, they're skyrocketing right now.
Oh, and they will for the rest of the week and probably the months ahead as
because
remember him.
Dads are telling stories to their kids like, oh, I remember when Hulk Hogan slammed Andre the Giant. You imagine that clip is probably going viral right now, you would imagine.
Oh, I've seen it at least 3 or 4 times just looking for reactions from people online, people sharing this around, and people are going to continue to react to him because, he was, again, such a transcendent wrestler. He wasn't just a wrestler, and he paved the way for many of what we now know today for, wrestlers like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, like John Cena, like Dave Bautista, guys who have gone on to have successful careers outside of wrestling. Hulk Hogan was really one of the first, and maybe the first, to do it and to show that it could be done and you could become something more than just a professional wrestler.
Right. The Rock becoming a movie star, and a lot of that groundwork is laid down by Hulk Hogan. I think if you look at the transition from wrestling to Hollywood, even though he was Hollywood Hulk Hogan, that it was the Rock and even John Cena probably made cleaner transitions into the world of movies and TV shows but the groundwork undoubtedly was laid by a lot of it was laid by Hulk Hogan and being able to prove that yes, you can make that jump. I mean, The Rock did it in a completely different way and became, you could argue, bigger outside of the ring than he ever was in it. But I mean, a lot of the ability that The Rock, or the accomplishments of The Rock, again, comes down to what Hulk Hogan was able to achieve in the 80s into the 90s and 2000s.
More reactions coming, this time from Sting, the you might say another iconic wrestler with his kind of iconic face paint. If you remember.
Because Sting, not the musician. Now we're talking about the wrestler.
No, we're talking about the wrestler. We were talking about the wrestler. He said, Hulk Hogan, the greatest of all. Can't thank you enough for all you did for me and for wrestling fans all over the world. I loved you and I will miss you, my friend Terry Bollea, R.I.P.
Barry Hall in the comment section saying, hey, JB, how about the TikTok star little boy that does impersonations of the Hulk? I'm sure he's heartbroken. What a legend and true American that Hulk was. I don't know of the boy that is being referenced here. I would imagine, I kind of want to go find those clips now.
I think I know what the reference here is. There is a pretty iconic clip of this little boy dressed up in the bandana. He's got the black and white kind of shirt and athletic shorts that they would wear. And there's a video of him approaching Hulk Hogan, who was doing some sort of event or signing at a local shop. And the boy just steps forward and starts doing truly one of the better Hulk Hogan impersonations you're going to see, right in front of the man himself, of course, who reacted like you would hope that anyone does when a child gets to meet their hero, just with kind of a bit of an awe, and gives him a bit of a high five at the end of it all. A pretty iconic video.
Okay, so this feed just coming into the stream center from right here in Tampa Bay, Florida, and it's from Hogan's Hangout. I'll get everybody an address here, and we'll show you exactly where this is. But Hogan's Hangout, Mandalay Avenue in Clearwater, basically right there on a beach. It's a restaurant and a bar, and you would imagine that the outpouring of support, I mean, you can see Hogan up there, along the top, all the pictures of his career. This is an establishment that is very much an homage to Hulk Hogan, and you would imagine that this is going to be quite the emotional place tonight, remembering who Hulk Hogan was in life, rather than the news today, of course, that he has passed away. And so, just reading up here a little bit about this. The menu looks pretty good. I've never been here. You ever been here?
No, I have not, but I feel like I need to go and visit now. I feel like I need to go and try it.
Yeah, no, I would imagine.
Wow.
I would imagine that a lot of people are just making their way over and reacting to the news.
Right. I mean, I imagine. Yeah. Not to say, this is going to be something that is going to galvanize people. Is going to make people go out to go see, this iconic location. To go, as you mentioned previously, the shot that we had of his home. Setting up that perimeter, probably because people want to go and see what that looks like as well. I imagine Hogan's Hangout, rest of today, probably the next few days, is probably going to be a pretty busy place.
Yep. Once again, Mandalay Avenue in Clearwater, folks. And so we have news teams that are going to the various locations that are important in Hulk Hogan's legacy. And we're going to have coverage tonight on WFLA News Channel 8 if you're watching on the WFLA app, on your Roku TV, your Fire TV, your Apple TV. All those newscasts you can stream live for free tonight. Again, on the WFLA app or on your television station, WFLA News Channel 8, your NBC station right here in Tampa, Florida. Before we wrap up, we heard on the previous live stream, but we're going to play it back again. This was Governor Ron DeSantis upon learning of the news of Hulk Hogan passing away at the age of 71.
And before I get into the gist of today's information, just as a Floridian, as somebody that grew up in West Central Florida, I was sad to see the news that Hulk Hogan passed away today. He was a major icon for anybody in Gen X. I can tell you, growing up then in the 80s and particularly the early 90s, he was really big. And he actually really was a star first before even he was Hulkamania, but when he was Thunder Lips in Rocky III. And that was like huge deal. I mean, obviously that was a great movie franchise with Sylvester Stallone. So he was Thunderlips, and then a couple years later became the World Wrestling Federation heavyweight champion. And, you know, as a young kid, like, you know, I'm growing up and it's like, you know, that was like somebody's like, wow, that's our superhero kind of deal. And the fact that he was from a Tampa Bay area when I'm growing up there, I was like, oh my gosh, like this guy lives in our area. And, you know, back then when they would do these big events like WrestleMania, you could go to it, which obviously I wasn't in a position to be able to go to. But they didn't have even pay-per-view where you would pay for it to come on the cable. They had closed circuit. So you could go to like a venue and they would play it on like a really big screen. And so like the first few WrestleManias, I think, were like that. Closed circuit. So you would go and you would have that, and then you'd just kind of watch it. So I just remember like WrestleMania 2, he's fighting Andre the Giant. And look, I was a kid. I didn't know that it was choreographed, right? I mean, I was like really worried that he was going to be able to do, but he slammed Andre the Giant. That was like a huge thing for like kids in that era. And so, you know, and we were with him just a couple of months ago. My kids got to meet him and everything. So I was really sad to see that. And our thoughts and prayers go out to his family and people throughout this region of Florida, because I know so many people cared about him.
And that's Governor Ron DeSantis at a press conference, opening up the press conference with some remarks on the passing of Hulk Hogan. So as we wrap up here, the live stream, our news team is busy preparing team coverage tonight on the passing of Terry Bollea, known, of course, around the world as Hulk Hogan. Any final thoughts here, Garrett, before we wrap up?
No, you know, I mean, I just thinking, you know, to myself of, you know, what is it that people are going to go and flock to if they're to try to remember Hulk Hogan as he was? I mean, I'm thinking the kind of infamous WrestleMania 18, he hulks up against The Rock, and when he would do that moment at the end of you know, an event where it looked like he might be down and out, but then he would hulk up and seemingly become invincible and unstoppable. Thinking about the body slam of Andre the Giant that we've mentioned earlier. You know, as you mentioned, a lot of these clips you're going to see, you know, a lot of compilations are going to get uploaded to YouTube by a lot of fans who are just trying to remember a man who meant a lot to a lot of people growing up, especially at that time. Yeah,
I mean, again, I think Scott, our first guest, put it well. I mean, good luck finding somebody who doesn't know who Hulk Hogan is. So this is news that is shocking for so many, both you know, people that follow wrestling and people that don't follow wrestling, that just know him from being, you know, an international celebrity. But we, of course, will continue to do our part here as far as gathering all the material, gathering all the sound, gathering all the reaction from around Tampa Bay and elsewhere, and putting that together tonight on WFLA News Channel 8 as a look back on the life of Terry Bollea, known to many as Hulk Hogan. Again, passed away at the age of 71 this morning, suffering cardiac arrest and being pronounced dead at a local hospital. For stream producer Garrett Phillips, I'm JB Buno. Thank you so much for joining us here from the Stream Center across all platforms. Thank you, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, our moderators. Really appreciate you joining us here for the stream. You can read more on our website right now. You can find all the very latest on our coverage of the passing of Hulk Hogan. It's on our website and on our app. Just go to WFLA.com. See you soon, folks.